What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Courage to Grow show with Jeff and Joe. I, of course, am Jeff, and I have Joe Marcoux with me. Joe, what's up, man? How we doing this morning?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. As you guys could see. If you can't see, I'm actually the background are all these novels. I'm here at Lake of the Woods, so it's wonderful to be able to have the technology to be able to work from the cabin. Life is good. How about you, man?
I'm curious. Is that bookshelf rich mahogany?
Because no, it is. It's pine. It's simple pine.
No.
Yeah,
All right.
It's okay.
It's
okay.
Fine. You're living the life, though. You're at Lake of the Woods. You're at the lake. That's awesome. So we have an amazing guest here with us today.
We do.
That I'm very excited to talk
Fired
to.
up.
He has many years of experience. We had to talk before the show to kind of narrow things down to what we get to talk about today. And we might just have to have him back because he's probably got so much to talk about, really. But to share his entrepreneurial journey, we have here with us Doug Knoll. Doug, how are we doing, man?
Welcome, Doug.
Joe, Jeff, great to be here.
Awesome, man. Appreciate having you. Thanks for the time.
Two of my most favorite people.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Doug, we mentioned obviously a second ago, you got tons and tons of experience, 45 years exactly. So if you could, for the audience in 15, this is our challenge, 15 seconds or less, tell us what it is that you do and what you sell.
I am a lawyer turned peacemaker, which sounds like a oxymoron. But I was a trial lawyer for 22 years, went back to school, earned my master's degree in peacemaking and conflict studies, left the law practice in 2000. And today I do many things. I help people solve deep and intractable conflicts as a mediator, and I train people how to stop fights and arguments in their lives forever using a set of skills that I developed over the years that works like a miracle to stop all arguing fights. And I can teach anybody to never have a fight or argument again in their life. And so in 15 seconds or less, that's what I do.
That was good. So far, Joe, what are we like 7 for 7 on guests? Like every single guest has done it?
I would say so. The difference is now with this concept that Doug has presented to the listener and to us, I'm just fascinated by it when you go from trial lawyer, who generally you're dealing with conflict in and of itself and you're looking to win. What's the difference? What's the difference in what happened where you said, hey, I've got to get into this? Like, how did you get into this in the first place?
So, Joe, you'll appreciate this. I in the mid 80s, in my mid 30s, I took up the martial arts. And I got my secondary black belt in a Northern Chinese Kung Fu style when I was 40 years old. And my teacher told me to go study Tai Chi. So I began to study Tai Chi as a martial art, not as a contemplative practice. And Tai Chi has two really interesting paradoxes. The first is the softer you are, the stronger you are. And the second is the more vulnerable you are, soft to be strong, vulnerable, the more vulnerable you are, the more powerful you are. So it's soft to be strong, vulnerable to be powerful.
I love it.
Did not compute. I was an arrogant secondary black belt trial lawyer. I mean, it didn't get, but eventually it seeped into my soul. So that one day later in the late 90s, I was trying a case and the thought came to me, what the heck am I doing in here?
Wow.
And after that trial, I had a river trip planned up in Idaho. I'm a whitewater guy, and spent 10 days on the main salmon thinking about how many people I'd served as a trial lawyer and could only really name 5 clients that I felt had really come out of the trial system better than going in. And I said, I'm not doing this anymore. So the universe provides. I had no idea what I was going to do, but when I came back to town and driving out of the mountains to my office that Monday after the vacation, I heard a public service announcement for a new master's degree program in peacemaking and conflict studies at Fresno Pacific University, which is our local Mennonite university, one of the 3 traditional Protestant peace churches. And I'm not a Mennonite, but I enrolled. And so for 3 years, I was a full-time master's degree student, a 3/4 time law professor, and a full-time trial lawyer. And that was the end of my first marriage.
That in and of itself,
wow.
I can just completely understand because you immersed yourself.
Yep.
Right.
Wow.
So I couldn't come to agreement with my partners about what I was going to do. So in October of 2000, I walked in in the last week of October. I walked in on a Monday and I said I quit, and I walked away from $10 million and a very successful trial career and on November 1st, 2000, started my peacemaking and mediation practice. And I never looked back. Best decision of my life.
Good for you.
Wow. I love the conviction about the decision as well, because
There's no
obviously
question.
there's a lot that goes. You poured so much of your life into that career. That's not easy. That's one of the most difficult things to do. Like that takes a lot of courage, which is why you're on the show. Look at that. We did it. So,
Yeah.
you know, one of the things that we really like to do on the show is we like to delve into a bit of failure, right? Like every entrepreneur has those maybe mistakes, you could call it, failures, you could call it, disasters, times where things have gone down just completely in flames, and yet you're still here, you're still persevering. So we feel that we can all learn from those situations. Now, as we are mainly a sales company, I wonder if we could fast forward from that year 2000, or maybe it happened around there. Maybe you had a rough start that you'd like to share. But is there like one or two stories framed around growing this new career path, this new business that you've built now, that you want to share with us?
Sure. The first year or two after I started my peacemaking and mediation business was a little slow, but all of a sudden I got the word got out. I mean, I'm very well known at that time. Now I'm well known in my field around the world, but at that time it was just here in Central California. Mm-hmm. And I made my bones on a huge case, a $500 million partnership breakup involving some very high profile business people here in the Valley, and we got it 60 days of mediation and it settled, and it kind of everybody blew everybody in the community away. And so that's sort of how I made my bones. And then from that period on, I was very busy as a mediator, making good money. Mm-hmm. And then 2008 came along. The financial collapse wiped out my mediation practice, because when there's no economic activity, there are no lawsuits, right?
Right.
People are talking about everything. And it completely reconfigured the landscape. And my mediation practice dried up within 18 months. So what am I going to do? And I just got to, I mean, really, I went from a $300,000 a year practice to nothing, and sitting there thinking about, okay, now what?
Yeah.
And that's when I started doing online training. And so I had to reinvent myself. And I thought, well, what skill sets do I have that I can really leverage? And at that time, I thought about, well, one thing I really know a lot about is negotiation. So I built, and still have, the most advanced legal negotiation course online called Negotiation Mastery for the Legal Professional. Because believe it or not, most lawyers are horrible negotiators. They think they're great, but they're horrible. And so I built a 9-hour intense course on legal negotiation to teach these people what real negotiation was really all about. Mm-hmm. And so I started promoting that. And that's when I got in. That's when the first time I got into online marketing, learning how to sell myself online, both selling the online course and also trying to promote myself. And it didn't go very well.
This is fascinating to me because, this is always the big question that we get from a lot of our members. It's, I need more. They think they need more leads. They need more leads. They need more leads. And what they really need is they need more sales. That's right. So the question becomes, what were you doing as far as what was working, and what did you try that was like, oh my God, I threw money at this and it just burned?
Didn't work. Yeah.
Well, I kind of made the classic mistake, which is I didn't do good market research before I built the course and started promoting it. And what I learned was that lawyers don't want to learn negotiation. So, for example, what I should have done, and so I learned everything ass backwards. I finally started learning about SEO. I started taking all these classes in SEO and building websites and doing Facebook advertising, which was just coming online, and learning all this stuff. And what I learned was that there are no, when I started using the Google Keyword Planner, I learned that there's no buyer's intent for legal negotiation. There are a lot of negotiation courses out there, but none for legal negotiation, and that's an indicator that lawyers are not interested in buying legal negotiation courses. Right. So the first thing that was my first thing, and then. But I kept pushing it, and I got some sales. I mean, it's a pretty high-end course, a couple of $1,000 to take for the course, and I was getting sales, and everybody that took the course just was blown away by it. I mean, they said, this is just amazing. Every lawyer should be taking this.
Yeah.
So then in mid, and my mediation practice sort of started to come back, but a lot of people were out there promoting themselves, their mediation practice, and I just didn't want to do the marketing, that kind of marketing, which is going around talking to lawyers, and that was not part of my soul. So then I ended up developing this de-escalation skill that I developed back in 2005, and I thought, okay, I'll start. This is another skill that people need. Everybody has fights and arguments in their lives. I'll start teaching them that. And so, in the mid around 2015, I reinvented myself again, and I ended up taking a very expensive course from some guys about how to sell yourself, take your professional skills and sell them, client-based business, big ticket. And I learned a lot from them, but the one thing they didn't teach is how to sell. So then I learned about ClickFunnels and learned all about funnels and studied all that stuff and got all the Russell Brunson stuff and learned how to do funnels.
Yeah.
I already knew how to do web. I do all my own SEO, my own funnels, my own design, everything. Because I didn't have the money to hire consultants. Mm-hmm. I figured all this stuff out, and I followed every single step that these guys told me to do in terms of you just start. This is back in the days when you do a webinar and then people come into the funnel and then you get them on a discovery call and total flop. And I targeted dozens of different audiences because in those days you could do Facebook. I spent tens of thousands of dollars in Facebook advertising, trying to target audiences to get people into a webinar and then into a sales funnel where I could talk to them.
And this is back when Facebook ads actually worked.
That's right.
Because today, I'm sorry, Facebook, this is a dog's breakfast.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. So the good news is I learned all about Facebook advertising and online advertising. The bad news, I spent a lot of money and didn't make any money. Then
you know that feeling.
I'd spent about $15,000 or $20,000 in this process. Nothing worked. Then I learned about affiliate marketing. I said, well, that's cool. I don't have to sell my own product. I can sell other people's products. So I spent thousands of dollars, took courses in affiliate marketing, big flopola. I learned that there are a lot of snake oil salesmen out there.
There is.
They promise big bucks for little effort, and it's total bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, I was like everybody else. I was looking for what do I do? And so, but the good thing is I learned a lot. And so I came back to my roots, which is teaching people how to de-escalate. And my fourth book came out in 2017. And so I decided, well, I'm just going to focus on teaching people the skills that I talk about in my fourth book, how to calm an angry person in 90 seconds or less. And that's pretty much what I've been doing ever since. And then I finally got the funnel figured out. Here's the success. And I started it this year, and you guys came into my lives at just the right time. I'd done some interviews with Yitzi Weiner at Authority Magazine on Medium.com. He reached out to me and said, how would you like to be an author? And we talked about it, and it's turned out perfect. So I get to interview all these high-end CEOs on Authority Magazine. I don't have to do crap on the thing. I get the byline. They do all the work. Yitzi and his team. They come into me, I read the interview, and then I screen. And about half the people that Then I learned about Josh Elledge, and I signed up with him. Now I have my funnel. I have CEOs coming into the interview. I've got my system with Josh Elledge, which is my podcast, Listening with Leaders. Yeah. I get half about the people that I interview. I invite them to the podcast. And then the next question is, now what do I do? How do I get them into a discovery call? What do I do? And that's when you guys showed up. Cynthia Corsetti refers to you guys, and who I know from our relationship on LinkedIn, and also working with another guy, Brian Morgan, who's a brilliant teacher of good writing. And so I hooked up with you guys, and now all of a sudden, it's like magic.
Nice.
The whole system come together.
The whole system has come together, and this is the most perfect system for me I've ever seen, and I am so excited. It's still early, but I probably have 10 or 15 major engagements. They're kind of gestating in process. And I got an email yesterday from a guy from a major recruiting firm that he went through the interview, I podcasted him, and now he's talking to his executive vice president today, and they're going to bring me in. And I quoted him a price yesterday. I said, depending on what you want, it's going to be anywhere between $12,500 and $30,000 for me to train your people. And he didn't blink an eye. He said, great. I'm talking to IBB. We'll talk next week. And so I finally, it's taken me all this time to figure this out. But between what you guys have taught me and are teaching me now, because I still have ways to go, and getting this whole system up, I think that within 6 months, I'm just going to be crazy.
Good for you.
Super excited. So
Yeah,
I get to serve. I'm teaching people really important skills at a very high level. So every person I teach will have an influence over thousands of people. So it's huge leverage of good.
Love it.
That fires me up, man. That absolutely fires me up.
There's a lot of good points that you definitely touched on that I think anybody watching this, listening to this, can resonate with. From reinventing yourself and like not being afraid to do that, and that could be a whole nother podcast in itself.
Right.
But like
takes courage.
Yeah, the fear of reinvention is such a fickle, funny thing to me. I, like you, Doug, have done that many times. Joe, I know you have, right? Like we have those alternate career paths, those different timelines almost, it feels like at this point that we've been on. And you wind up here, and this might not be the final stop either. You don't know. You just have to have that courage to take that step, that leap of faith, as it were, to step into a new pair of shoes and keep going in a different direction, right?
Let me tell you where I'm going. I'm 72 years old. I'm going to start studying for my doctorate in another year. I'm going to start studying for my doctorate in education. By the time I'm 76 or 77, I'll have a doctorate, and then I'm going to go back into schools and start teaching people how to de-escalate angry students and parents. That's really where I want to go next.
Doug, I have to ask when because it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Do you see yourself as a black belt sensei in the SOS dojo?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
We do too.
because I know from my own black belt training that all a black belt is, it just gives you a license to learn. That's all it is. All you've done is you've mastered the basics, and now you can start really learning how to fight. Or in the case of the SOS dojo, learning how to sell and handle objections. So I want to be a black belt with you guys because I want to learn more, and I love teaching, and I love mentoring. And so it's a perfect situation to come in, and I'm watching the people that are coming through, and a lot of them are really struggling. They don't have a lot of confidence. They're not good speakers. They don't know how to present themselves. And here's another opportunity for me to serve and help them become like me.
I love that. Well,
That's
we'll
awesome.
talk about that later then.
Yeah. We definitely have to have you back. This is just engaging.
There's plenty more to talk about. I think like a good point that we could touch on, kind of wrap this thing up on, would be your experience with other coaches in marketing, right? So you mentioned that, you spend tens of thousands of dollars on Facebook ads, like you did the Brunson course, you did like all of that stuff, and something was missing. Like there was a missing piece to that puzzle. And to you, like you were saying, that was sales, right? Like it's the actual, okay, I did the webinar, I got the people, right? And then they come to me, and then we have a conversation, and then what, right? Like there's this missing piece of the puzzle. And I think that that's so important just to touch on for a moment, is like how many coaching programs are out there where that sales piece is just negligible or non-existent, right? So like how many programs have you tried where that's just missing?
Every single one until I found you guys.
That's
every
insane.
single one. And I've probably taken, I don't know, 6 or 7 different courses.
Yeah.
And none of them touched on sales. That was kind of the assumption, was that if you do it this way, people will come and they'll just automatically sign up. No.
Yeah. Field of dreams. Got you.
Yeah.
It's just not the way that it works, right? Like
the way that it works.
Yeah. And the point to touch on there, and I'm sure you can appreciate this because you teach the same thing, is it's a soft skill, right? Like marketing, as much as marketers want to believe it's a soft skill, is actually a hard skill. It's if I know the algorithm, an algorithm is a predictable measure, like I can understand that. And then it's just do this, do that. Literally, like if you go to any marketer and they say, hey, I'm going to do this for you, what they're actually going to do is they have a simple process that they follow behind the scenes on Facebook, and then they copy that is the same for every customer that they work with.
That's right.
And then it's up to you, balls in your court, on the soft skill, which is sales. And with soft skills, they're just too hard, right, to teach. And that's why coaches avoid them. The problem is that people struggle with that so much that if you leave the ball in their court and they just have to figure it out, they're going to fail. Like the vast majority. But what we've found from working with many programs like you have is that those coaches don't care. The problem is that the coaches don't care.
Yeah, we call
because
it drive-by coaching.
It's a numbers game, right? They're
Right.
just like, oh, 70% it's just not going to work for them, and that's fine. Like, and what they try to do is weed them out ahead of time, right? They try to pre-qualify, and they're like, they're not going to figure it out, they're not going to figure it out, I'm not going to sell to them. And then they just spend asinine amounts of money on their own marketing to get the right people in that'll figure it out themselves, and then promote it as this magic pill, like, hey, see, it's working for all these people. The problem is those people already had the soft skill, and the vast majority of the rest of us out here don't have that soft skill, need that soft skill, and are not being provided that soft skill, right? So
how many,
I know, I'm getting fired up.
How many of those ad agencies or people that you may hire to help you get leads turn around and end up telling you, all you got to do is the reason that you're not successful is that you're not spending enough money on ads.
Yeah, that's the go-to. Right?
I didn't get that. I didn't get that. But I think Jeff got it exactly right, which is they teach you how to attract people, but then once you attract them, what do you do with them? And then totally,
it's the most important part.
Right.
Literally,
it's like putting the cart before the horse. And really, why would you? To us, especially for those that are listening that are solopreneurs, how busy do you want to be? And again, there's a difference. I can be busy or I can be effective. Yeah. I would rather see somebody have, instead of a full calendar, have a selected calendar.
That's right.
How much white space is important to you, Doug, just to do exactly what you did? You went down the river, you mentioned. You took this whitewater rafting trip. You need that white space to do what? To think.
That's right. And so maybe it's whitewater. I live in a beautiful place, 60 miles south of Yosemite. So in the wintertime, I at least take one day off a week to go up and go skiing.
Love it.
I go skiing and think of just go up. It's mental health day, and I just ski and think about stuff, and it's great. I just want to plug you guys because you guys really have the magic bullet, the missing piece, and it's so interesting to me to learn from you because you're teaching me the skills that I already know, but they're in a completely different context, and so it's just a really interesting dynamic to say, oh yeah, I know that, but I never thought about applying it this way, and I just want to say how effective it is for anybody who's listening. I've been with these guys for 6 weeks now, and so I'm still pretty new, but I'm picking it up fast.
You are.
And this is powerful stuff. I'm already, and like I said, I've already got about 4 or 5 big deals. And when I say big, I'm talking anywhere between $10,000 and $50,000. I've already got about 5 or 6 potential big deals in the pipeline. And
I love it. Awesome.
It takes time to close, but I'm not in a rush. And I by the end of the year, I'm just going to be crazy. So, and I'm really excited.
Love it.
And that's because you guys are providing me with the tools that I just didn't have. I had no idea how to put all this stuff together in the way that you put it together. I've got the screwdriver and the hammer and the pliers, but you're putting them together in a way that I've never seen before.
It's the example of, hey, you know what? I got to get this fixed. You hire the appropriate tradesperson to come in, and they show up and they go, yeah, just do it like this.
Exactly.
And then they go, and then we as the consumer sometimes go, you mean that's really it? I'm paying you for that? And it's like, it's not the turning of the screw. It's knowing which screw to turn.
That's exactly right. And I'm happy to pay for that knowledge,
Thank you.
It's really, it's just priceless stuff.
We've already seen the progress, Doug. We speak obviously of our members because we want to help everyone because we want you all to be delighted. We want you to be delighted, Doug, and it thrills me to no end to see and to hear the passion that you have and to watch already this progress take place. That fills me up, man. I mean, there's a level of happiness that is in my soul right now. This is exactly where you are. It's why Jeff and I do what we do. Right. We're making a difference, which allows you to make a difference, which allows others to make a difference, and it's just like the circle continues. It's awesome.
That's right. It's all about serving others, and
it is.
To the degree we can make money serving others.
Yes.
And then that's what life is all about.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a great spot to end this off at as well, just to keep within our time limits here, because we could talk for several hours. I know that we could.
We're going to have Doug back.
We're going to have Doug back. Doug,
absolutely.
We appreciate you so much for taking some time, stepping on the show with us today. Is there anything that you want to plug for anybody watching this? that you want to share right now?
How people can find you?
Well, yeah, you can find me at dougnoll.com, DOUGNOLL.com. And I'll throw this out. I'm a peacemaker. I help people with conflict. So if there's anybody out there, any of you out there that are listening or watching to the show, and you have a difficult conversation that you've been avoiding, I will facilitate, I will help you transform that difficult conversation into something really, really magical. But you have to have the courage, and the other person that you're avoiding has to have the courage to come in and work with me. And if you go to my homepage, dougnoll.com, and just look for the difficult conversations link, just read all. It's a long page. It explains everything that we do and how we do it. But I do this for free, with a couple of catches. So that's I want to dangle that out there, because everybody has a difficult conversation they're avoiding. Let's have that conversation, but let's do it in a way that's transformative rather than destructive. And I will help you do that.
Love that. So yeah, anybody watching that has that issue right now, like, have the courage to reach out to Doug. Absolutely. And hit that problem head on. Let's do it. All right. Well, hey, that's it for the show. Appreciate you, Doug. Thank you so much for being here. And we will be back next week, y'all. Chaz, take us out of here.
Take us out.